Hi, have a nice lunch. You know, when I wrote with Eileen the book Revolt, we predicted that there would be a national primary that would make Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada and all of those earlier primaries far less relevant. And that really is what's happening right now. The whole nominating process has changed because of Fox News and the other cable stations and these debates that are taking place on cable. The big changes that are going on nationally and in Iowa and New Hampshire and the other states are not caused by anything happening in Iowa or New Hampshire. They're caused by what's happening nationally that is being reflected in the polling in Iowa and New Hampshire. For example, Perry has gone from winning Iowa to now finishing fourth, I think, at 10% of the vote. He didn't mess up in Iowa. He didn't go to some state fair and make a mess. He lost nationally because of the debates, and then that was reflected in Iowa. Romney has moved to a front-runner position in Iowa, and Kaine hot on his heels. It's not because Kaine has spent 100 days campaigning in Iowa, or that Romney's launched an ad buy in Des Moines. It's got nothing to do with that. It's the national debates and the national contest that's going on. In a real sense, the national primary has replaced the individual state primaries. Now, of course, they'll still hold state primaries because there is no national primary that selects delegates. But the outcomes in Iowa and New Hampshire and the early states will be imposed upon them by the national outcome, rather than what has historically been the case, which is Iowa and New Hampshire imposed their view on the rest of the country. So, for example, we didn't know who Mike Huckabee was, and then by dint of hard work in Iowa, he won the Iowa primary, and all of a sudden we focused on Huckabee. Obama was seen as running way below Hillary, and then he won Iowa, and all of a sudden Obama was the big item. So you have a situation where in the past these small states controlled a large part of the nominating process. No more. Now the national process is imposing itself on the small states. By the same token, years ago, and 4 years ago, Rudy Giuliani was winning in the Republican primary polling. But the national polling meant nothing because he didn't campaign in Iowa. He couldn't impose his views on Iowa. He couldn't win a result in Iowa. And as a result, the process passed him by, and by the time he actually competed in Florida, he was well out of the race. Now that wouldn't happen. Now the national debate would structure what goes on in those states. And the reason is cable news. The reason is that every political activist in the country watches cable news. And probably 60 or 70% of the Republican primary vote watches these debates. And that's how this contest is being won. The other sidelight here is money is a lot less important. I know in this last quarter, Romney, I think, raised $15 million, and Perry $17 million, and Kaine only raised $3 million. Doesn't make any difference. Look at how Kaine moved up because of the debates, because of the free media news coverage, because of his appearances on the Hannity show and the other shows that he's on. The audience is so concentrated in cable news that ultimately money has a much, much less of an impact on designating the Republican candidate this year. Absolutely fascinating to watch this change in the process. Thanks a lot. Have a nice lunch.